What is the one stressful moment you have experienced with customs at the port of entry? You would agree with me that one of those moments is when your shipment is technically cleared for physical stock. You sent the bill of lading, it was released to them, you paid your fees and your duties, all your documents were submitted, yet your container did not move an inch. It's absolutely one of the most stressful times for any party in the supply chain network. Every extra day stays at the port, demurrage keeps ticking, your storage is stocking, your client is calling you on the phone, asking questions about his shipment. Your reputation is literally on the line. So today, that is what we're going to talk on Customs Cut, a segment of Tales of Logistics this week. And we are focusing on customs clearance nightmare, a part of supply chain that crumbles companies, disrupts reputations, and affects customer trust. Owing to experience and research, three major circumstances that usually causes this nightmare from customs clearance. Three of them is when your HS code is misclassified, when there's a missing document, and when the customs system itself is down. I'm going to talk about it each with a true-to-life scenario. HS code misclassification, missing document, and systems down. Let's start with the first one, HS code misclassification. Let's just talk about a true-to-life scenario where an importer or a client is expecting an electronic shipment of high value, and has a tight delivery window. In fact, this customer, after speaking with the shipper, with the freight forwarder, already knows the shipment's ETD. ETD stands for estimated time of delivery. And with that information, the customer decides to make a retail launch and publicly announce when that product will be launched. Now, when the shipment got to the customs, to the port of entry, customs officer decided to reclassify that shipment from a general use electronic shipment to telecom equipment. That reclassification disrupted the whole plan that both the shipper and the customer had in mind. Because right now, the customers are going to do a physical inspection of the whole shipment. That's one. Two, they're going to be a technical review and also a duty reassessment. In fact, the customs had to ensure that the importer or the company or the customer gets a different agency that will submit the proper documentation. Also, remember that the customer that is expecting the shipment had gone ahead to make an announcement to the public of when they're going to launch the product, and they had a 48-hour time frame or ETD in mind. Now, these whole misclassification that led to reevaluation took from 48 hours to 19 days. That 19 days clearance that was supposed to take 48 hours cost the company $40,000 in fees. So you can see what just one misclassification of HS code can do to a company. How, if it's not properly checked, it can ruin the whole plan that a company or the importer have in terms of when the shipment will actually arrive, in terms of budgets for that shipment. Because if the classification is wrong, they'll pay more in terms of fees, they'll pay more in terms of demurrage, they'll pay more in terms of storage fees. So what exactly is the lesson here? The point here is this. HS code is not just numbers. HS code are risk signals. HS code helps customs to determine how much you pay, helps customs to determine if you should be inspected and how much inspection should go into your shipment, and literally how suspicious your shipment is. When it comes to customs, HS code classification is not just for administrative purposes only. Classification is a strategy. You can do it right from when you buy the product in the foreign country, and we all know the difficulties that is involved in shipping a product or a shipment from one country to the other, the papers involved, the transactions involved, the time, the stress. If you do not get it right up until the port of entry, you would open a new level of stress and anxiety and disappointment. So it is important to ensure that your HS code classification is accurate to save all the hassles that you may have to experience at the port of entry. The second thing that usually leads to customs delays and customs nightmare, document is missing. This is something that's so common in the industry, sometimes because The shippers are in a hurry or owing to human error. They could miss a document. They could miss something only for them to get to the port, and there will be an unusual amount of delay because of a missing document. Here is another true to life scenario that will help us understand better. So a shipment comes on a Friday, and when shipment comes on a Friday, it's very delicate because freight forwarders and customs brokers often do not work on weekends. So you need to ensure you get your documents right before you get to the port of entry. So this shipment arrives on a Friday. And when the customs officer was going through the document, it turns out that the certificate of origin was missing. Now, for human errors or for technical reasons, the shipper was not possessing the certificate of origin on or before the point of entry. What happens? That shipment that's supposed to be cleared immediately if he had the certificate of origin now has to stay at the port. So from Friday, he had to wait up until Monday when the certificate of origin was received. That's a 3 days stay at port. There's a 3 days demurrage, a 3 days storage fee. That 3 days delay was not in the plan with the customers. The customer was not expecting that the shipment that he had paid for and had probably asked a lot of questions asking, do you have the documents right? Is everything complete? Should I be expecting my shipment? When should I be expecting my shipment? And now the customer is there getting phone calls or getting notification that unfortunately the shipment that is right there at the port cannot be cleared for entry because of a missing document. So it affects the relationship you're going to get definitely with your customer. The customer will be upset at you because these fees has to be paid by someone. So what is this showing us here? You see, with the two scenarios we've come to talked about, the one about the misclassification of HS code and this one about missing documents, none of them was due to customs officers or the customs system. No, the customs system is designed to work in a way that it is supposed to work, and it works that way. The HS code misclassification that led to several days and delays was not the customs fault. It was the shipper's fault or the importer's fault. The missing certificate of origin is not the customs fault. They have a template of what is required, and if it's not there, then your shipment will be delayed. In trade, time is a legal concept. So it's either your cargo is in compliance or your shipment is in compliance with the customs requirements upon arrival, or it is not. And when it is not, your shipment will end up paying demurrage and storage fees. So it's important that before your shipment gets to the point of arrival, it needs to have every documentation and every information that is customs compliance. Customs is not a service organization. Customs is a risk control authority. Their job is not to help supply chain professionals do the job smoothly. That is not the job of the customs personnel. The job of the customs personnel is to protect revenue from any potential loss, is to enforce regulation, is to prevent fraud, and also to control security threats. They are always interested in accuracy. How accurate are your documents? How accurate are your information? The job of the customs personnel is to ensure that every shipment crossing the border has the accurate documentation possible, regardless of how many minutes or hours it takes them to get it right. Now, the last one that has also caused a lot of delays is with the system is down. Even if you get all the documentations right, everything is right, only for the customs system to be down. Your manifest was logged properly. The entry was properly prepared. Your truck booked. Everything is fine. You have every documentation. When you're going to arrive at the port of entry and when you're going to deliver the shipment was already planned out and everything was just going fine. Only for you to get to the port of entry and the documentations cannot be accessed because there's a system network problem at the customs. You will have to wait. There is nothing you can do about that. Some things are beyond the control of the customs. Some things are just beyond the control of all parties involved in the supply chain. And when it gets to that, you just have to wait because technology sometimes fail. And the customs personnel is not going to say, oh, sorry for the downtime in our network or in our system, you can go. The customs personnel will have you wait, except when you have most of the documentations with you on hand. And so we've discussed 3 factors in addition to numerous cases. There are a lot of cases that usually causes customs nightmare. It's one of the nerve-wrenching situation in supply chain. Get everything right, only for you to get to the port of entry and you having a situation. But as shippers, as importers, as operators, what are the things you need to do? What are the proactive measures that you need to take in order to avoid delays at the customs as much as possible? So the first thing to do is to pre-clear everything. If your entry is not ready before your vessel arrives at the port, you are already late. Check everything. Ensure the documentations are complete. Check the HS code. What you're doing is to ensure that you do not experience any delays at all at the port of entry. That's one. Two, use a proper and experienced brokerage firm or a broker. Your broker is not just a clerk who helps you just check on boxes. Your broker is like a lawyer. He looks out for your own interest. Cheap customs brokerage services are easy to get, but they are not always the best for your ship. There are a lot of brokerage firms out there that are excellent. They use real-time artificial intelligence and customs experts who've got years of experience to render quick and excellent services to shippers and importers. Even if it's expensive, a bit more than what you probably had budgeted, look at the reviews of this brokerage firm. Look at their services. Look at what's the portfolio of customers they have. The efficiency of the services is what gets your business going, because an excellent service from a brokerage firm protects your brand, it protects your customer base, it protects your customer trust, and in the long run, it brings in more businesses. That's the second one. In summary, choose a good brokerage firm. Use firms that have experts that are experienced. Most of these firms, they use real-time artificial intelligence, customs experts, and even customer service. You can reach them on the phone and speak with somebody who can help you in real time. So that's the second one. The third one is to ensure you have your documentations on hand. Have them in the phone or in your email, but try as much as possible to have a hard copy of it. Why? Remember the third reason that I mentioned that usually causes customs delay. If the system is down, customs officers will have to revert to the old method. The old way of doing things is physical documents. So if you do not have your physical documents on hand with you on such a circumstance, you're going to get stalled at the port of entry. So it's important to be 100% prepared, to be proactive. Have your documentation on hand. Have them on the phone. If you do arrive at the port of entry and for any reason there's a customs system problem, the customs officer switches to physical clearance, you have your documentations to tender for them to cross-check and have you pass through. So that's what proactivity does to us. Additionally, it's important to know what customs is currently targeting. Every port of entry, every customs system you're trying to go in through have something they usually target. There is experience where a vehicle was undervalued because the value and the currency in the bill of lading and in the bill of sale does not match. The bill of lading is saying 70,000 CAD. The pro forma invoice has converted the 70,000 CAD to USD, which comes out to be $40,000. So why are we having different currencies? These undervaluation can stall customs class. In fact, it can affect reclassification. It can affect reassessment. It can lead to delays. The second thing is country of origin. If you manipulate a country of origin, you are certainly going to have penalties of all sorts. Then there's counterfeit risk, there's sanction compliances. There are a lot of things that can stall your shipment at the customs. If you get a good brokerage firm, if you use a brokerage firm with experience that is up to date, that have artificial intelligence and experts, you would avoid a lot of customs delay, because the job of the brokerage firm is to ensure that you do not have problems when you want to bring in your shipment into the country of choice. So we've talked about classification, verification. We talked about license and permits that needs to be secured. We talked about entry documents that needs to be pre-filled, getting the right brokerage firm, and planning ahead. So again, use your right classification, HS classification, verify your documents properly before you get to the port. Use the right brokerage firm. Be aware of what each customs system is watching over. What are the triggers that you should avoid so that you do not get stalled at the port of entry? And try as much as possible to always have your documents both at a hard copy or physical copy and on your phone or on your email, just in case there's a systems down with the customs and they decide to revert to the old way. You will have your documentation to tender or to show to them. The customs job is to ensure that anything that crosses the border has been properly and accurately checked. So the customs challenges or nightmares you have heard today in this episode are not by accident. These are things that happens all the time. These are things that are caused by little oversight. And as professionals, we need to try as much as possible to avoid them so as not to bring about a bad reputation on our brand and then affect the customer's brand, which in turn will lead to the customer's business getting affected. If you, as a business owner, if you as an importer, decide to secure a cheap brokerage firm, a cheap freight forwarding company, there's a high chance that you will pay lots more than that when you get to the port of entry. This is how I wrap up this week's episode on Tales of Logistics. Please support our platform through your subscriptions. And if you have anything to talk about as a review, please leave comments, send us emails, and we'd appreciate them. Until then, keep the supply chain moving and see you in our next episode. Voila.